David Johnson, in most fantasy leagues, was a top 3 pick, fair to say.
Top 2, 1 or 2.
Okay,
yeah.
1 or 2, right? So, not to sound cruel, all right?
Not to sound cruel.
Is David Johnson's injury, is that a bigger impact in fantasy or reality?
Have we gotten to a place in this society where that's a legitimate question? And that was a rhetorical question. It kind of is. Because they got a lot of people who play fantasy football who today are feeling sick because they took him number 1 and number 2 overall.
Right.
To whom I say, if you know what you're doing, like I do, you could overcome this. Okay. You could general manage your way out of this loss in your fantasy league and wait until he comes back and you have him for the stretch running through the playoffs. But I'm not going to trivialize this young man's unfortunate break by reducing this to a fantasy conversation. So I just answered your question to be polite. Obviously, it's more in reality because, one, he's playing on about a $600,000 base salary this year, still on his rookie contract. As we talked about with Le'Veon Bell and others, specifically at this position, okay? 1 minute you're the best player on your team and in the game, the next minute you're rehabbing injury. Short shelf life for running backs in general. So it's unfortunate that a guy with obviously a lot to do, not to prove, but a lot to do to get that mega contract he's working for with the Cardinals suffers this kind of setback. But in this division, where the Seahawks looked awful on offense, the Niners are the Niners, the Rams look great on defense and improved on offense, you just want to be healthy coming out of week 1. And the Cardinals got enough problems to worry about with Carson Palmer, and now you're losing your best player. Yeah, sure, Bruce Arians is right. It creates an opportunity for somebody else, but there's no other David Johnsons, at least that we know of, in that backfield, if not the league.
Well, they're talking about possibly signing Chris Johnson, by the way. But that, as you said, this is a big problem in reality, not just reality for David Johnson, given the kind of contract that he has, but for running backs in general. It's just another reminder kind of why their value, unfortunately, has been devalued in the NFL because of the injury factor, because David Johnson was somebody that, quote, nobody saw coming. And then all of a sudden for him to say, well, the reason why we have him is because somebody else was able to be him.
But he wasn't exactly an undrafted free agent.
No, he
drafted
wasn't.
Him out of college knowing he could be that guy.
They knew that he was going to be productive, perhaps, I guess, for everyone else. Did they expect one day that David Johnson would be one of the top 2 or 3 running backs in the league? Right. Maybe not, but certainly a productive player. But it just goes to show for running backs, unfortunately, they're constantly being told in big and small ways that you don't matter. And my fear is that this signals yet again why it's not valuable to invest in that
And this injury wasn't reflective of the nature of the position. Anybody could have a freak wrist injury, but still it's just such a fickle position. Real quick, on the overall question, this is why players hate fantasy football, because their reality, their struggles, their injuries, people say, oh man, my fantasy team is ruined, which again is a legitimate question. But ultimately, it comes, and a lot of people are sick. I think nationally, okay, I'll answer it this way. Nationally, more people care about their fantasy teams and probably care about the state of the Arizona Cardinals.
I think that's fair.